Richard Drax.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. As a former soldier, I've watched the scenes of chaos with great sadness. Sadness for the 457 men and women of our own armed forces who died doing their duty, and for the scores of others with life-changing injuries. Was it all for nothing? I hope they don't think that, because their courage and sacrifice lit a torch in a dark place, which the Taliban, however hard they try, will find impossible to totally extinguish. And as we've heard, they prevented any terrorist attack on the West for 20 years from Afghanistan. I also pay tribute to all those brave Afghans who have helped us over the past 20 years. I hope we can evacuate all those who need to get out. And we must never, ever forget the men and women of our allies and friends, without whom we could not have borne our share of the burden over all these years. While I know that the government is doing all that it can to bring some semblance of order to the withdrawal, it's a fact that not all will escape the vengeance of the Taliban, despite the current amnesty, in which I have no confidence. My concern now, and it's been expressed by many in the House, is that this rushed withdrawal will create a vacuum. I should say perhaps is creating a vacuum. For now, we face a resurgent fundamentalism in Afghanistan, the prospect of the country once more harbouring those who would do us harm, and a significant growth in the drug trade, from which the Taliban will get its funds. But while the Taliban want only to export their heroin, others will use the ungoverned space to foment and spread their extremist ideology. We only have to look at why we went into Afghanistan almost exactly 20 years ago to see what that means. Already, countries like Russia, China, Pakistan, and Iran are circling like sharks. And I shudder to think what the future holds for not only the Afghans, but the West too. We must not be naive in accepting that the Taliban will soften their stance without evidence, as many honourable colleagues have said today, and that will have to be proven. Now, I'd like to end, if I may, by referring to my phone, which I don't like to do, Madam Deputy Speaker, but I've had a comment from a general, a very distinguished general, and the Defence Secretary is in his place, and as a former soldier, I feel I have a duty to read what he says. And he served in Afghanistan on many occasions. He says this: I hope someone will ask what price the Defence Review, the Defence Secretary's filleting of the Army, means it could not sustain an operation in Afghanistan or elsewhere. If the last few days show anything, it is that you have to be able to sustain an operation over decades. Strategic patience, a word used by my honourable friend in his excellent speech, is all. The cut of 10,000 men and women from the armed forces removes that capability. And he sums up in the end, in the short time I have left, by saying this: I guess the strategic point is this: Afghanistan is a disaster of strategic proportions with implications for our foreign policy, defence policy, for NATO, and for our relationship with the US itself. And what is our response? To cut our army by 10,000. Some signal of our intent, some signal to our allies.